let's talk about any potential or possible impact on the supply chain of Blue Star with Mr. B. Thiagarajan. He joins us right now on the show. Mr. Thiagarajan, as always, good having you. Thanks for joining in. Can you tell us if and how do you get impacted under the current circumstances as they stand right now?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. For the past 3 weeks, we have been continuously reviewing. Number one is that till April middle, we may not be affected. Because of the Chinese New Year, we had gone ahead and ordered quite a bit of components which are supposed to come from there. And that is helping us to carry on with the production. Second thing is a few factories have opened, albeit with smaller strength. Someone is operating with skeleton staff, someone is operating alternate days only, like that. Our shipments post this virus outbreak has commenced now. Something is getting airlifted, something is coming through the sea. Having said all this, I think April last week, May first week, there may be interruption. I'm not ruling that out at this moment. What we are doing is that we have set up a war room because the components are critical for the production. And we are finding out alternate sources for certain components. But what is happening is even if it is coming from Europe or Far East to some other country, they are again in turn dependent on China for some component. So everybody seems to be interconnected and affected by this. So, something was coming from Japan. I understand Japan manufacturer gets something from China. So it is unprecedented, and we are coping with this particular issue. I think unless and until the situation dramatically improves, you cannot avoid some shortage. And for us, it will be a peak season, May, June.
Thiagarajan, you said you've, ahead of the Chinese New Year, you had placed orders. What I want to know is, have those shipments arrived? I mean, have those orders been fulfilled?
Yeah, quite a few ports have started dispatching, and slowly the vessels are moving. There was a problem of something getting unloaded. Because the port workers are not available in full strength, that is taking time. See, in China, what I understand is every province, the borders are, strictly controlled. Similarly, the manufacturing units are following certain procedures that they have to do a health check, then only. First of all, the government has to give a permission who can open, who cannot open. So massive amount of bottlenecks are still there. So therefore, at a slower pace. If 25 containers will move in a week, it is only 4 or 5 that are moving.
Okay, so is there a possibility, Mr. Thiagarajan, that, when you say that you're good to go for Q4, there could be some hiccups, some bottlenecks with regards to deliveries, and therefore even Q4 may suffer?
I don't think Q4 there is an issue.
Okay. When you say you're looking at alternatives, Mr. Thiagarajan, obviously it will not be to the full quantum of what you want to cover. How much % of the shortfall do you think you can cover with alternatives?
Very, very difficult, because as I told you, that we are looking at a Spanish supplier. He says some crankshaft comes from China. So a Japanese electronics manufacturer gets some chips from China. Like that, all seem to be interconnected with this. So it is not possible to overcome at all. See, what happens, I will tell you, in real life, we all plan for 25 to 30% growth during summer season because it is a peak, right? Now, that much of a growth may not happen because everything depends on the summer. So if it is going to be a 15% growth, you will be able to manage. Let us assume summer is going to be very, very tough, and it is going to be a 45% of a growth. Definitely there will be shortage of material, not only for Blue Star. I think most of the industry players will be affected by this. So all of us would have planned a sufficient quantity for summer. So therefore, the damage will be restricted to the extent of you may let go of some sale in case the summer is going to be severe. That is the right perspective.
Mr. Thiagarajan, I heard you mention that you are airlifting certain components right now which are necessary. Would that mean that even if Q4 is insulated as things stand from the actual supply of the component, the costs might be a bit higher? Would that be a fair assessment?
Even otherwise, like for example, the ocean freight has gone up more than 65% from January onwards, because they had some sulfur fuel-related restrictions. So the vessels were in short supply even in December last week, even before this virus. It has got nothing to do with the virus. Second reason is quite a few components, the custom duty has gone up consequent to the union budget. Third one is now airlifting the components, certain critical ones. And that airlifting related price increase is lesser. But on the whole, we have decided to increase various models or SKUs in various categories, anywhere between 3 to 5%. I hope the market will be able to absorb this. We won't be able to absorb.
Okay. Mr. Thiagarajan, I just one final question really, is that if indeed, I hope that things become smoother sooner rather than later, but if this extends for a bit longer, I understand that it might be difficult to quantify how much supply will get disrupted because even the other suppliers depend on China. But would it be safe to assume that if the demand is more than the 15% growth which you alluded to earlier for the industry at large, the industry might have to let go of that added demand?
It will depend on the time periods. Like, for example, the Guangzhou province is getting back to normal. If most of the supplies come from that particular province, if this is going to get restored, let us say by March middle, that the normal production port clearances will be, I think even up to 20% of growth the industry may be able to. If it is going to be, let us say, April only, then 15. If it is going to be May, then you may struggle anywhere between 10 to 15. That is what is my rough estimate. But as I told you, I will be happy to update you every week what is happening, because we are now having a war room. Every morning we know what happened. Every evening we know what happened with regard to the critical supplies, because we are largely a component importer. Finished goods, most of the players have become self-sufficient in India. The compressors, China is the source for most of us.
Okay.
And I will keep updating.
Sure.
I think roughly, broadly put, that 15 to 20% growth is still possible in summer.
That's very candid of you, Mr. Thiagarajan, and thanks for the offer. We will take you up on that. Maybe not every week, but because you would be busy too, but would love to have constant updates about how things are shaping up. All the best.
Thank you very much.